Hey there. So today I'm going to be talking about some of the popular JavaScript functions. So this is the map, filter, and the reduce. So many a time people get confused on this and I would like to explain it in my way. So let's just see an overview of how this works before we dive into the code. So the map function is basically used when you want to be iterating over all of the values and you want to be taking some action on every single value. One of the important point to note for the map function is it always returns the same number of items in the array format. So the method signature looks something like this. So you have the main array, then you use the dot map function, and within this it passes a callback function. So in the callback you have three arguments. You have the current value in the array, the index of the array, and the main array itself. And you also have an optional this value that can be passed. Now for example, we have this buns which are passed in an array format and we use the dot map function. So in the dot map function, we have a single bun. So when we say the bun, it's going to be iterating over every single bun over here. And it's basically going to be adding this burger within the bun. So the output would look something of this function like this. So you can see it returns the same number of items, but with the burger inside. Okay, so that was about a map function. It might not make really a lot of sense over here from this pictorial representation, but let's just dive into the code and see how it works. So I'm just diving into my code base and right here. So what I'm going to do is I'll just copy all of this and I'll open it on a website so that you can also code along with me if you like to. Now please note that all of this can be found on my GitHub channel, which is going to be linked in the description below. So let me just copy this, go back to my Chrome, and I am on this website called as playcode.io, or you can just do it on your local, whichever you find comfortable. And let's just get rid of this and just start off writing what we have in the given code. So there are a few examples over here on which we are going to be working. So the first question says that return an array with double the values in the given array. So we are given an array of numbers, we just need to double it. So you might be using a for loop for now, which you just go and iterate over every single value and double it and return those values in a new array. Well, the map function makes it really easy. So let's see how that works. I'm going to be first uncommenting this out and we're going to be using const, and let's say over here double array equals to array.map. All right, so with this we need to be passing in a callback function. So I'll type in function, and over here we need to be passing few parameters. So the first parameter is going to be the element or the item within the array. So it's going to be val. The second one is the index, and finally you have the array itself. We are not going to be using all of them, but I just wanted to point out what all are available. So with that done, we can just return val into 2. So with that done, it's basically going to be going through every single item or the every single element in the array. It's going to be multiplying by 2 and returning that value into the double array. So it's going to be running as many times as the number of items in the main array. To just make sure that things are working fine, let's type in console.log double array. And in the output, you can see over here that we actually get double all the values. So that was pretty straightforward. Let's move on to a more complicated example. Now over here, you can see we have the string value. Now you might be wondering, okay, how do we iterate over the string value? Well, you can basically split this string and make it into array first and then do the iteration. I'm going to be showing you how you can do that shortly. So let's just go through the question first. In the following string, make the first letter capital. So basically what we want to do is we want to be iterating over the string and we want to be making the first letter capital of every word. So it's going to be JavaScript's J is I and awesome A. Okay, so let's see how that works. First of all, I'm going to be uncommenting this. Let's take it in a string str equals to JavaScript is awesome. So we are going to be basically having a new string over here. So I'll say updated string, something like this, equals to str. Now, as you know, this is a string value. We cannot be directly running a loop on top of this. We cannot be using the map function directly on it. So what we can do over here is we can split it first. So we'll say split. Then we're going to be telling how we want to be splitting it. So we don't want any separators. We just want to be splitting the string. And after this, if I put a dot, I can use the map function on it. Now, basically, it's going to be giving me every character that is there over here. Now, again, as usual, we can use the function and then we can type in our function. So we are going to be having the value or the first letter, then we have the index, and finally the array. Okay, now we want to be basically creating it big. So we basically want to be checking whether we are at the first index. If you are at the first index, we want to capitalize this. So we'll put up a condition here. We'll say if index equals to 0. So in that case, we want to be returning the val dot to uppercase, just like that. Okay, so this takes care of the first character over here. The next condition that we want to make sure is the I is capital and the A is capital. And in both the cases, we can notice that the letter behind it, it's basically a space. So what we can do is over here is we can check if index -1, and we cannot just say index -1 because index is just a value over here. We need to be telling index of what. So over here, we're going to be saying index of the original string. So you can do string like this. So this will basically go to this particular string. It will check the index. So let's suppose it is over here, then it goes -1. It finds the space over here, and that's what we're trying to find over here. So if index -1 equals to a blank, then we return val dot to uppercase. All right, so that should cover both of the condition. The last condition is for all the other letters. So in that case, we just want to be returning the original letter. So we'll say return val. All right, just to make sure things are working well, let's just log everything. So we'll put up console.log updated string. And if I just try to expand this, we can see the J is capital, the I is capital, and the A is capital as well. The only last part remaining over here is it's still in an array format. We want to be converting it to a string. So I'll just put up a dot. That means we are basically chaining the functions, and we want to be chaining another function over here saying join. And we want to be joining the string by just 2 quotes. And we can see that we get the output of JavaScript is awesome with the J, I, and A as capital. So that was a second example in which we use the index as well in the map function. Let's see the last kind of example over here with the map. And this is the kind of one that you're generally going to be facing when you are doing some real world application. So let's try to read the question first. We want to be mapping an array with an external function. So right now what we have seen over here, we were always writing the function internally over here, but we can also write the same function externally. I'm going to be showing you how. And let's see what is the question. So the customer wants to order these type of sandwiches, the veg, chicken, and the egg. And the output should be basically, in the case of veg, it should be bread is white, the patty is vegetarian, the sauce is ketchup. And if the item or the sandwich type is chicken, we need to be returning this kind of object. Now you can see that basically the type that we're returning is nowhere related to what we are getting as the input. But however, since we're just iterating over every single element, we can be just returning whatever we like. So let's see how it works. So again, I'm just going to be first of all copying this question. So this was the type of sandwiches that we have. So let's say const sandwiches. Let's remove the last one for now, just to make it simple. And we need to be basically iterating over this. So what I'll do, I'll say const sandwich ingredients. Okay. And then over here we say sandwich dot map. And in this map, we want to basically be passing in a function externally. So let's see how we can be doing that. So I'll call this as create sandwich. And this is basically a function that I'm going to be declaring soon. So let's go ahead and declare it above this. So I'll say const create sandwich equals to a function. Now please note, I also use the arrow function over here. So you can be using any of the ones that you're comfortable with. And over here, like the ones we had seen earlier, we are going to be getting the val, the index, and the original array. Okay, so with that done, let's see how it works. We are basically going to be using a switch case here. So I'll put in switch val, and then we type in our case. So the first case is, let's suppose we are getting the first one as veg. So I'll put in over here as veg. And in case it is veg, we are going to be returning. So I'll type in return. And then we have this right here. So let's copy that and paste it over here. Okay, so that covers the first one. let's see the other one, case of chicken. So let's copy that, paste it here. And in this case, we will say return and the second one that's passed in over here, just like that. It's still complaining because it does not have a default case. So let's put in the default as return null. Cool. So that is done. And we can see that we have cleaned up our map function. So we are just passing in a function that we want to be using within the map. And this is a much cleaner way of doing it. Okay, so with that done, let's just try to log our sandwich ingredients. So I'll say console.log sandwich ingredients. Cool. So we can see our third output over here, and we have actually mapped both of them. We get the output for the vegetarian as the object that we have specified. And similarly, we get for the chicken one as well. So that's about it for the map function. I hope it is clear. The most important point to note over here for the map function is it will always return the same number of items on which you're mapping. So this is one of the most important things to remember when you're using the map filter and the reduce function. So I'm just going to be taking a break. So you can just check out my next video for the filter function.